The sun rose over the naval base and the air shimmered with heat as a black SUV approached the main gate, and the guards barely noticed the woman sitting quietly in the back seat, her eyes hidden behind dark glasses, her face calm but unreadable. She stepped out slowly. Her name was Elena Morgan, and she had been assigned to the logistics division, or at least that was what everyone believed. What no one knew was that she was actually Rear Admiral Elena Morgan, the youngest admiral in Pacific Command. She had come in silence to see the truth with her own eyes, to understand the whispers of corruption spreading through the ranks. She wanted no special welcome, no salute, just a chance to see what her people were hiding. The base was alive with the sound of drills and shouting orders. Soldiers marched across the yard, mechanics worked on the engines, and officers stood watching with pride and arrogance. Elena walked quietly past them, carrying only a small duffel bag, her steps steady, her heart calm. She entered the cafeteria where laughter filled the room. The moment she walked in, the sound faded. Lieutenant Carter, a tall, confident man with a smug smile, turned his head and looked at her like a predator seeing new prey. He leaned back in his chair and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Hey, looks like we got ourselves a new recruit. What's your name, sweetheart?" Elena looked at him calmly and said, "Morgan, Logistics Division." The room filled with muffled laughter. Carter smirked and said, "Logistics, huh? Good luck keeping up around here. We don't go easy on the newbies." Elena smiled faintly and sat down quietly, ignoring the stares. In the days that followed, she observed everything. She saw how the senior officers mistreated the younger ones, how reports were falsified, how missing supplies were blamed on clerical errors. She kept silent and watched. She had come to confirm the rumors of corruption, and every passing hour revealed more. She saw Carter laughing with the warehouse officer at midnight when they thought no one was watching. She saw cargo trucks leaving without proper inspection. She saw weapons listed as damaged but never returned. She said nothing, but her eyes missed nothing. One afternoon she stood near the hangar watching a group of young mechanics struggling with a damaged drone. The chief engineer yelled at them, calling them useless fools. Elena stepped forward and said quietly, "Try adjusting the guidance stabilizer before rebooting the control module." The man turned, ready to snap at her, but then did as she said. The drone powered up instantly. Silence fell across the hangar. The young soldiers looked at her in surprise. She smiled lightly and said, "Sometimes it is not about shouting louder, it is about knowing where to look." The chief glared at her but said nothing. From that moment on, Carter and his group began to see her as a threat. That night she was working late in the operations room. Her fingers moved across the keyboard, accessing hidden files. She found shipments marked completed but never delivered, serial numbers that did not match records. She followed the trail deeper. Her Admiral clearance opened locked systems, and what she saw confirmed everything. Carter and two senior officers were running a black market ring, selling Navy weapons and tech to private buyers. She saved the evidence and waited for the right moment. The next morning the base buzzed with news that a surprise inspection was coming. Panic spread. Carter's group scrambled to hide their tracks when they found out that the inspection was being led by the new logistics girl. They laughed. She walked through the hangars, checking crates, making notes. Every officer followed her movements with mocking smiles. Carter approached her and said, "You really think you can handle this, Morgan?" She looked at him calmly and said, "I know exactly what I am doing." His smile faded slightly. That evening as she walked down the empty corridor, two soldiers blocked her path. They had been sent to intimidate her. One said, "You better stop digging where you don't belong." She removed her glasses slowly, her eyes cold and steady, and said, "Neither do you." They froze. She walked past them without another word, leaving them in silence. The next morning the commander of the base summoned everyone to the main hall. Carter was there, trying to look innocent. When the commander questioned the missing shipments, Carter shouted, "She is just a logistics clerk. She is lying. She has no authority to run investigations." Elena stepped forward, her voice calm, and said, "You are right, Lieutenant. I have no authority as a logistics clerk, but I do as this." She placed her insignia on the desk, 4 shining silver stars. The room went silent. The commander stood straight and saluted Rear Admiral Elena Morgan. Carter turned pale, unable to speak. She looked directly at him and said, "I came here quietly to learn the truth, and I found arrogance, greed and betrayal that ends now. Word spread through the base like wildfire. The new girl was the Admiral. Everyone who had mocked her now stood in silence as she ordered a full internal audit. Every corrupt officer was suspended, every missing weapon was tracked, every soldier was questioned. The entire system shook. That evening she gathered the entire base in the courtyard and stood before them. As the sun set behind her, she spoke with power and calmness, saying, "I did not come here to punish. I came to remind you of what this uniform means. It stands for honor, not greed. It stands for service, not fear." The soldiers listened. No one dared move. Some felt shame, others pride. When she finished, there was silence, then the sound of hundreds of boots striking the ground as every soldier stood at attention and saluted. From that day forward the base changed. She ate with the soldiers, she worked beside the mechanics, she rebuilt the trust that corruption had destroyed. Day by day she turned the broken base into one of the strongest in the region. Months later, during her farewell ceremony, she looked at her officers and said, "Remember, ranks and titles can be taken away, but your integrity, once lost, is gone forever. Serve with courage and lead with honor." They stood silent, their eyes filled with respect as she walked toward her car, the wind blowing softly through the flags. When the vehicle drove away, the soldiers who once laughed now saluted proudly. Elena Morgan looked out the window at the sea, knowing her mission had only just begun. There were other bases, other shadows, and she would face them all, not as a hidden admiral this time, but as the leader who proved that real strength lies in humility and truth.